C-QPO. That stands for Christian Questioning Popular Opinion. You know, one of the most important tasks for us as Christians is to confront our culture with truth and do as Paul tells us in 2 Corinthians, to take every thought captive to Christ. Using the infallible Word of God, every Christian should be questioning popular opinion. Would you consider yourself a good person? I think almost everybody does, and the Bible tells us that, every man is right in their own eyes. But God, He weighs the heart, and He actually knows our motives and all the things that we don't even know because our subconscious usually hides it. Here in Luke 6, this is what Jesus tells us. Luke 6, starting at verse 13, going down to 36. If you love those who love you, what credit is that to you? Even sinners love those who love them. If you do good to those who do good to you, what credit is that to you? Even sinners do the same. And if you lend to those of whom you expect repayment, what credit is that to you? Even sinners lend to sinners, expecting to be repaid in full. But love your enemies, do good to them, and lend to them, expecting nothing in return. Then your reward will be great, and you will be sons of the Most High. For He is kind to the ungrateful and wicked. Be merciful as your Father is merciful. It's real easy to be, loving the people who are loving. It's easy to be nice when life is nice. Life starts getting hard, we start getting hard. And I don't really know anybody. I haven't met anybody that doesn't start changing a little bit when things get hard in their life. But there are people that are more gifted than others. And I believe the more we get to know Jesus, the more we're able to have a self-control, and the more we're able to love our enemies, as Jesus did on the cross. I don't think anybody could even imagine what it would be like to be hung on a cross and people are killing you in front of your mom, and they're calling you names and spitting on you and degrading you, and then still being able to pray for them and still just only wanting the best for them. Like, this is a self-control on a whole new level. And He was able to pass this on to one of His followers, Stephen. When he was being stoned, he did the same thing. Before he died, he said a quick prayer for his enemies that were killing him. Like, these people just don't know what they're doing, and understanding that the battle isn't a battle of the flesh, but it's actually a spiritual battle. And so when we understand that a lot of things that people are doing towards us is a spiritual battle that they're going through, it'll help us not to, lash out on them. And it'll help us not to build up hate for people when we understand that there are spiritual forces of darkness that are working on people's heart all over the world. So we have to remember that no matter what happens, we need to stay loyal to the Word of God. The Word of God tells us to be humble, to be meek, to be loving and giving, even to turn the other cheek, which is something that I know with my own ability I don't have the power to do. But through Christ and through reading His Word and being transformed by it, I do have faith that I will surprise myself in these kind of situations that years ago I know I would just fly off the rails. So how are you going to treat people when things start going wrong in your life? Are you going to be the same person? Are you this good person? Have you really made it through these tests and had your heart tested? Because there's a lot of people in life that have never been through certain things, that they've never felt what it feels like to be an outcast and not to have people like them, or to go through poverty, or to, have to resort to hard labor, or to, be attacked by people or be discriminated against. So without these tests, some people are actually spoiled and they don't really know who they are because they haven't been through these kind of tests. You know, the only kind of tests they go through are getting caught in traffic, and then even in these tests they fail. You know, they see themselves losing control, or if they're late for work or something, then, you know, things that you can't control. And when these things happen in your life, you see yourself, you know, sweat coming from your head, and you're out of control, and you're cussing and beating on your steering wheel. And, you know, so if you lose control in these kind of situations, how would you be if you're tested to the extent that Job was tested? You know, look at what happened to Job, losing his family, losing everything he owned, and being stricken with these big boils all over his body, and his wife turning on him. Like, how would you react to something like this? You know, I still have to ask myself sometimes, you know, I don't know how I'll react to certain things, you know, losing family members, you know, because honestly, we really don't know until the time will come. I remember when Peter was telling Jesus, like, you know, no matter what, man, I'm gonna follow you to the death, you know. And he said his love was so great for him that he would die for him, but then he denied him 3 times. So I think a lot of times our pride, and a lot of times we can really become cocky and think that we're better people than we really are. But like the verse says, you know, God weighs the heart and he truly knows. So if you think you're a good person, think back on the last test that you really had, the last time something didn't go your way. Think about the last time, you know, somebody was mistreating you. How did you really react? This is a real, true test of who you really are, by looking at who you are when you're tested. That is how the heart is revealed. Something to think about.